안녕하세요, 찰쌤입니다. 네, 오늘은 The Case of the Hungry Stranger 이 책을 읽어드리는 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 이 책은 크로스비 원셀이 쓴 시리즈물입니다. 4명의 친구들이 탐정 역할을 해서 문제를 해결해 나가는 시리즈죠. 이 책에 관한 수업에 관심 있으신 분은 아래 내려가셔서 링크를 따라가주세요. 홍보에서 수업을 신청하시면 됩니다. 좋아요, 구독, 알림 설정을 꼭 부탁드립니다. 그럼 바로 시작하도록 하겠습니다. The Case of the Hungry Stranger. They all sat in the clubhouse, Wizard and Tubby, Skinny and Snitch. Wizard was the leader, Tubby was his pal. Skinny was his pal, Snitch was his little brother. Wizard knew a lot, so he was called Wizard. Tubby ate a lot, so he was called Tubby. Skinny did not eat a lot, so he was called Skinny. Snitch was called Snitch because he told on his brother, sometimes. The clubhouse was under a tree by a brook near a fence in Wizard's backyard. There was an old sign on the door. It said, "No girls." There was no new sign on the door. It said, "The Wizard, Private Eye." "What is a private eye?" asked Snitch. "I'm a private eye," said Wizard. "I find things." "I lost a penny once," said Snitch. Wizard said, "I don't find lost things. I find things that have been taken. If someone took your penny, I would find out who took it and get it back for you." "Free?" asked Snitch. "For a nickel," said Wizard. "Let it stay lost," said Snitch. "You have to be sharp to be a private eye," Wizard said. "You have to keep your eyes open." He looked at Snitch. "You have to keep your mouth closed." Mrs. Mitch, the lady next door, ran across the yard. "Which one of you ate my blueberry pie?" she asked. They all looked at Tubby. Mrs. Mitch said, "I baked 2 pies. I put them out to cool, and someone ate one. All that is left is an empty pie plate." "I didn't eat it," said Wizard. "I didn't eat it," said Tubby. "I didn't eat it," said Skinny. "I didn't eat it," said Snitchy. "Cross my heart." Mrs. Mitch said, "I need a private eye." "You came to the right place," said the Wizard. "We'll find out who ate the pie." "I'm sure you will," said Mrs. Mitch. Wizard looked at the boys. "We'll start right here," he said. "Tubby, where were you before you came here?" "I went to the store for a loaf of bread for Mom," Tubby said. "I got some cookies for me too." "Where were you, Skinny?" asked Wizard. "I was watching my little sister while my mother hung up the clothes," Skinny said. "Where were you, Snitch?" asked Wizard. Snitch looked funny. "I was with you," he said. Now Wizard looked funny. "Where were you, Wizard?" asked Tubby and Skinny. "I will tell," said Snitch. "It's funny. Mom was trying on her new hat." "That's not so funny," said Tubby and Skinny. "She was trying it on a Wizard," cried Snitch. "That's funny," cried Tubby and Skinny. "Come on, man," Wizard said. We have to look for fingerprints and footprints and anything else that will help us. They climbed the fence. They walked across the grass. They stopped at Mrs. Mitch's back door. The pie plate was on the bench. It was empty. All right. Here's a footprint, yelled Skinny. It looks new, Wizard said. Then he looked at Skinny's feet. It's your footprint, he yelled. You just made it. Toby was looking at the open cellar door. Maybe he went down here, he said. I will go look. The cellar was very dark. It was damp and still. Toby fell over something. It was soft. It moved. It seemed to grab him. Help! Cried Toby. I've got him! Mrs. Mitch put on the light. And there was Toby all tied up in the garden hose. You're a dope, said Wizard. Outside, Wizard had a few things to say to all of them. We are not getting very far with this case, he said. Hey, here's a pie crumb, yelled Snichi. That means he went that way, cried the Wizard. Let's go. They followed the crumbs across the grass up to the fence. They saw the crumbs again across the brook. Don't make a sound, said Wizard. I think we've got him. Toby ate a cookie, but he did not make a sound. The trail led to the tree and then to the door of the clubhouse. Shh, said Wizard. I'll open the door fast. We'll catch him red-handed. There was no one there. Shucks. He got away, said Skinny. We almost had him, said Toby. He ate another cookie. Some cookie crumbs fell on the grass. They all looked at the crumbs. Those were cookie crumbs we followed, Wizard said. Toby's old cookie crumbs, said Skinny. We must find out who did it, Wizard said. We can't be private eyes if we don't find out who ate the blueberry pie, said Skinny. Blueberry pie, said Wizard. Blueberry pie, said Wizard again. Hey, let me see your teeth. Why? Said Toby. Just let me see your teeth, said Wizard, and you can see mine. What do teeth have to do with it? Skinny asked. I lost one, said Snitch. Does that count? No, said Wizard, but if we had eaten that blueberry pie, our teeth would be blue. And our teeth aren't blue, cried Toby and Skinny. I think the one I lost was blue, said Snitch. Let's each go out alone, said Wizard, and look for someone with blue teeth. They went up and down the block. They went to each house. They smiled and they smiled. Snitch smiled at the mailman. The mailman smiled back, but his teeth were not blue. Toby smiled at the ice cream man. The ice cream man smiled back, but his teeth were not blue. And Toby got an ice cream cone. Skinny smiled at the paper boy. The paper boy smiled back, but his teeth were not blue. Wizard smiled at the policeman. The policeman smiled back. Of course, his teeth were not blue. Wizard and Tubby and Skinny met back at the clubhouse. I didn't see one blue tooth, Skinny said. Where's Snitch? Asked Wizard. No one knew. I told Mom I'd watch him, Wizard said. Let's go look for him. But they didn't have to look. Snitch came running across the yard. Hurry, he said. Hurry! I have found the blue teeth. They all ran after Snitch. They jumped across the brook. They climbed the fence. They ran across the grass. Mrs. Mitchie was reading. She looked up and smiled. Every one of her teeth was blue. Oh, Snitch, said Wizard. Her teeth are blue, said Snitch. They are indeed, Snitch, said Mrs. Mitch. I had a dish of blueberry pies for my lunch. Back at the clubhouse, Wizard had a few things to say to Snitch. But you said to look for blue teeth, Snitch said. Not Mrs. Mitch's blue teeth, yelled Wizard. Just then, a dog ran through a hole under the fence. He jumped over the brook and sat down beside them. Hey, he's been with us all day, Snitch said. He's a nice dog, said Skinny. Does he want a cookie? Asked Tubby. The dog ran to Wizard. He wagged his tail and sat down. Wizard smiled at the dog. The dog smiled back at Wizard. Then Wizard yelled. Then they were all yelling. The dog was barking. He was jumping around. And he was smiling. The dog was smiling a deep blue smile. A blueberry pie smile. The case is closed, Wizard said. Here's our pie eater. Let's take him to Mrs. Mitch. The dog smiled his deep blue smile at Mrs. Mitch. You did a good job, boys, Mrs. Mitch said. Now we are really private eyes, Wizard told her. Someone cried, Mop! Mop! A girl walked across the grass. There you are, Mop, she said to the dog. Where have you been all day? The dog just smiled. But Wizard told her, Tubby told her, Skinny told her, and Snitch told her. He always told. Mrs. Mitch said, Would you like it? Of the blueberry pie Mop didn't eat. Tubby was the first to say yes. They took the pie to the clubhouse. Mop and the girl came too. The girl's name was Marigold. He sat on the grass with them and ate blueberry pie. And they all smiled, and each of one of them smiled a deep blue smile. 네, 이렇게 해서 The Case of the Hungry Stranger를 다 읽어드렸습니다. 결국 범인은 책 앞에서부터 계속 아이들을 따라다니고 있었죠. 아이들이 미소를 지어서 범인을 찾는 방법이 참 특이한 것 같아요. 네, 재밌는 아이들. 이 책에 관한 수업을 들으시고 싶으신 분들은 아래 링크에 가셔서 구구에서 수업을 시청해주세요. 좋아요, 구독, 알림 설정을 부탁드립니다. 다음 시간은 Little Bear's Friend를 읽어드리도록 하겠습니다. 그럼 그때까지 안녕히 계세요.